Yeah, what does freedom look and feel like to you?
That freedom is a state of mind. I was faced with people thinking that I was a violent person, that I was uneducated, that I was hateful, that I was gonna cause harm. And that's a sad misinterpretation of who I am as a man. I am educated, I know how to love, I know how to care, and I know how to pour into people. And I know how to be of service. And nobody should have to endure that. Nobody should be subjected to those things. Prior to going to prison, I used to look through my phone contact list and everybody was a gang member, a drug addict, or lived a destructive lifestyle. Coming home, I look through this contact list and I see men in recovery, women who care, politicians, and people who know how to stand up to gang violence and destructive behavior.
Can you tell me your name and who you are?
Morano, a man that when I was incarcerated, I found a flyer about Chrysalis and the services they provided. I wrote to Rose at the Pacoima office and she wrote back explaining what the services were. So prior to finding Chrysalis, the majority of my young adult life was spent incarcerated, juvenile halls, prison, just in and out of the justice system and the legal system, battling an addiction to heroin and alcohol, and just living a destructive lifestyle.
What made you want to change how the direction your life was going in?
So what made me want to change is in 2024, I was released from long-term incarceration and I came home sober and I wanted to try it different. I wanted to try something different. I wanted to really make a change. I wanted to make an impact, not just for me and my life, but to my community, the community that I used to cause so much harm to. I came home from long-term incarceration. I didn't possess any skills, personally or professionally. I didn't know basic things that I feel people should know. Resumes, cover letters, interview skills, basic things that I felt like I should have known. But going to Chrysalis, they didn't make me feel insufficient or inadequate. They just showed me what to do and how to do it. And I felt safe and comfortable. So when I initially went to Chrysalis, I was interested in the roads crew. I was part of the desert crew with my supervisor as Alexander Real. He was coming from his journey of incarceration and addiction. So I confided in him a lot of the things that I was scared of, right? Rejection, failure, feeling like I'm not enough. He really helped me to navigate that walk home. He helped me navigate that journey, and he helped me understand that it's okay if I do fail, just to remember that we can always recover. It's not about perfection, it's about recovery. And he really shed light on that and helped me understand that.
And when we talked before, you shared a lot about your leadership style in your Chrysalis supervisor role, and then probably now too, that you lead with vulnerability. Can you share, why you feel that's important or how that's been modeled for you and how you do that in your roles?
So I lead with vulnerability for a lot of reasons. I was born in the 80s, I grew up in the 90s when a lot of the gang intervention and prevention teams that were out at that time were praising and glorifying the gang lifestyle. So I adopted that ideology and I seen going to prison as a rite of passage. And it was just completely misunderstood. That lifestyle is not something that I idolize, glorify, or glamorize anymore. And I am able to be vulnerable with my experience because it's the truth. I'm very transparent about what I went through. I was very afraid and scared, right? I was incarcerated at a very young age as a young teenager, and that experience truly was scary. It was something that I wasn't okay with, right? For the first time I went to juvenile hall and you have someone telling you to strip out and you're gonna be searched by grown adults. At that age, I had never been naked in front of anybody but my parents, right? So to be in a position where you're now with strangers, being randomly searched, those things made me feel uncomfortable. I didn't feel safe. I did feel scared. I did feel vulnerable. And those are the things I now share with our youth because those are the things that I feel are important for them to know. Not the story of where they're the hero in prison or how they had fun with the homies or about the drugs and the drinking and the women, but the part about spending 10 years away from your family, the part about losing your marriage, losing your kids, losing your freedom, losing your humanity, right? Those are the things that I feel, for me, were life-changing. That's truly what helped me change. And nobody should have to endure that. Nobody should be subjected to those things. And I understand that now. But I also went to prison very uneducated, While incarcerated, I did get my high school diploma, I did go to college, I did graduate. And I understand the more I expose myself to education, to new ways of life, the more successful I become.
Okay, since you talked a little bit about it, what does freedom look and feel like to you? You mentioned that right now, and you mentioned it a little bit yesterday too.
So, while incarcerated, I always thought freedom was just outside of the prison. I always thought freedom was something that could be found outside of prison walls. And I now understand that freedom is a state of mind. Freedom isn't being outside of the prison walls, because I came home and I still felt trapped in a destructive lifestyle and in this addiction that it kept me paralyzed in fear with a hateful heart. And I now understand that the freedom comes when you're able to let that go, be transparent and be vulnerable, when you're able to share those things. And when you can release them, you can find true freedom. You really can find that freedom that you're looking for, in or outside of the walls. And I say that because I know there's a lot of men and women who are incarcerated right now, and they can find that freedom too. If they could let go of that lifestyle, if they could let go of those addictions, if they can forgive and let go of the hurt and the hate, they can find that freedom.
Thank you. Let's shift a little bit. So can you tell me, tell me what your role is at A.C.E. and however much you want to share.
So when I came to A.C.E., I was a housing aide for the House of Ruth, and I was a reentry specialist for the sector team. This week was my first full week as an assistant housing manager, and that's just been an amazing experience. Our CEO and our founder, Michelle Fuentes Miranda, believes in me, and she trusts me, and that's something that I don't take for granted. I take that opportunity and I give it everything I have. I give the same investment that I see my coworkers and colleagues give, right? And I don't half-step anything. I want to make sure that I'm pouring into this organization the same way that my colleagues are. And we have a perfect example. We have a leadership here at A.C.E. that truly does care and is truly invested in serving this community. And I'm so blessed and fortunate to have those examples. So at the House of Ruth, I'm able to help men coming home from incarceration and learning how to navigate this walk back into society. And it could be a daunting task.
What do you think is how would you describe the stigma that people or society have who are justice impacted?
Coming home from incarceration, I faced those stigmas, right? I'm in the process of tattoo removal right now. But prior to having this tattoo removal, I was faced with people thinking that I was a violent person, that I was uneducated, that I was hateful, that I was gonna cause harm. And that's a sad misinterpretation of who I am as a man. I am educated. I know how to love. I know how to care, and I know how to pour into people. And I know how to be of service. But most importantly, I know how to forgive. And those are the things that I believe people misunderstand when they see somebody like myself. What I see is transformation, change, and vulnerability. I mean, what someone else may see, they're only going off the information they have. They may have had a bad experience with somebody who looked like me in the past, you know? And that's why forgiving is so important, because not everybody's the same, and change is possible. So prior to going to prison, I used to look through my phone contact list, and everybody was a gang member, a drug addict, or lived a destructive lifestyle. Coming home, I look through this contact list and I see men in recovery, women who care, politicians, and people who know how to stand up to gang violence and destructive behavior. And I am part of that group of men and women because I know how to stand up and advocate and litigate for my people, which are justice impacted men and women, which are the marginalized communities that people outcast. I know how to stand up for them. I know how to help them. I know how to provide the resources to them, how to give them the opportunities that they didn't necessarily have before. And it's a beautiful thing when I'm able to provide those resources and when I'm able to see them flourish.
Tell me a little bit about your time, how you spend your time now outside of work, and whether that's like what it's like being a dad or anything you want to share about your family or hobbies or anything like that.
So I spent a significant amount of time incarcerated. I became really strained with my family. My dad passed away when he was 39 and I was 13. That life is I'm still learning how to be a good father, to just be part of that family. But what I do on my free time is I give back to this homeless community, to these unhoused men and women. That's something I do with my recreational time. When I have the ability to collect Narcan and first aid kits and food, I do go to hotspots where I know there's unhoused, and I provide services for them by calling 211 and looking for local shelters, or looking for getting them out of the area that they're in, to get them somewhere safe, to get them a bed by that night. And that's something that I just felt calling on my heart. You know, I started doing that sometime last year. When I left Chrysalis, I came to A.C.E, and that part of my life just felt like it was missing. The part of my life where I wanted to give back to my community, and not just in this field of work, but I feel so close to the unhoused because I understand it, right? I understand what it's like to come home and have nothing and not know how to reach out for the resources. So that's what I do with my free time. And I know a lot of people are like, man, you're crazy. Like, why do you spend your free time doing that? It's just what I enjoy doing. You know, it brings purpose to my life.
Now that you're kind of at this new stage in your journey, what are you excited for, like in the future, in the near future?
Yeah, so I'm excited for a lot of things. Alliance for Community Empowerment has so much coming that it just makes me hopeful for my role in what's to come, right? As we continue to grow, I continue to learn, and it's a perfect example, right? Recently, I was promoted to an assistant housing manager, and that wasn't something that I was looking forward to. That was something that was blessed to me, right? I was blessed to have this opportunity, and I was blessed with this opportunity because they see my investment and they see that I care. And as I continue to care and I continue to invest, my growth here will continue. And I would love to see how far that goes. And when it gets to the next promotion or the next position of leadership, I want to be able to give it back. I want to be able to help that next man or woman coming home from incarceration and show them that walk, show them that it's possible. Hand myself to the next man or woman who is struggling and doesn't think that it's possible. Allow them to learn how to navigate through these difficult times when they're returning home.